Welcome back to Geek Out to Say it's Friday and we're having fun. And we're back. No more slumber party.
We're back from outer space.
So
you know
yeah,
what? The
today
slumber party was fun. Okay, I liked my idea. It was cute.
it's very awkward.
It
It's
was
very awkward.
I need
But
a slumber party with somebody else.
today we're talking about the first all-women spacewalk that happened today for about 7 hours on the International Space Station.
Yeah. Chicks in space.
So this happened today, and I think at first they were having some kind of an issue because they didn't have the right size suits.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I heard that. But I heard that this morning.
Oh, I have been at work all day
Mm-hmm.
with small children, and I have not had.
And
a
some of your
chance
small
to-
children are on right now with Dinosaur Roar and Creeper Boy.
Creeper. So I haven't had a chance to see how well the women did. I was curious to see. I mean, I obviously, of course, they're probably trained well. I think that, I mean, there have been women in space before that have done these spacewalks. So, I mean, I have this mixed opinion about it, right? Because it's great. It's great that it's all women in space, 2 whole women in space. But at the same time, I think that we're never going to break these boundaries, these barriers, if we stop saying things like women in space.
Mm-hmm.
It's just these 2 really great astronauts who, like, that in and of itself, can you imagine being an astronaut and, like, walking around in a suit in space?
But here's the thing. They haven't been given a chance to do that for so long. And this is kind of like, hey, this is happening. So I think that's why people were so proud of that fact.
I mean, I guess, but and maybe some of it is more like in the spotlight because of that movie Hidden Figures.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe people realize more how many women are behind the scenes, how many women there are that have that intellectual capacity, how many women there are in NASA and in the space race. So I think maybe things like that have brought it more to light. And then, of course, minorities as well.
Right.
How many people there are, that are minorities and women.
Mm-hmm.
Because then we're talking about both. So I am fascinated by any human being, male, female, minority.
Well, because it's an accomplishment to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, can you imagine? I mean, there's so few people. When you think about humanity as a whole and how many of us there are.
And how many have actually gone outside of the atmosphere.
Yeah, how many have actually gone into space.
Yeah.
And get to be up there, not only up there, but, and it's not like they're just walking around arbitrarily doing nothing. Like, they were up there for 7 hours because they were fixing stuff. Like, they're working on stuff.
Right.
So they're almost like space mechanics,
mm-hmm.
which I think is kind of cool in a way,
Well,
too.
the cool thing about it is they were out there to change a battery charger.
Mm-hmm.
So, and apparently that whole thing was supposed to take about 5 hours. But they...
I thought they had said it was going to take at least 8.
No, it was supposed to take 5 hours, but it took about like 7 hours and 15 minutes. But that's like getting them into the suits and out and stuff like that.
Right, right.
But we have like about a minute video if you want to cue it up.
Okay, cool.
It's under Geek In. Isn't that coming up?
No, you're not getting it. Because there's no button for it.
No, he says
No,
it's
it's
under
under
the
Geek
Geek In
In.
button.
Yeah, there's no Geek In button, Vincent.
Oh.
Good job.
Well, I think it's under Cue Up.
Queue up. That would be the one that's not there, Vincent.
You want to go? I'll talk and Vincent will go look about the video.
Or he could just click on the button on... there, there's a Geek In one on there. On XSplit.
There's not.
He doesn't see it.
I don't see
It's on
he doesn't know where it is.
It's
So
on XSplit.
Vincent's going to go queue up the video, and I'm going to talk for a couple of minutes. So one of the things I've always wondered, if you've ever seen the movie Ender's Game is a really great movie in and of itself, so that's a whole different topic. But it, the little boy in there talks about how. Did you want to cue it up now? I was going to say, he talks about how in space, you don't think about things
Just
the
okay,
same
Christina,
way.
if the two of you can see your tethers, we're happy for you to manage it as you see fit.
Hey, oh yeah, Christina, I can see it. I think that mine is just under yours, and I don't think since we're both going out from here, it's going to make a difference. When we go back to clean up the tethers, we'll just have to double check that.
Yeah, you can just spin one around the other when you remove one of the big hooks.
Right. Okay. So,
from what you're seeing, if I were to come down from starboard and just head forward, saying that looks okay? Your view of the...
Okay, so what I was saying before was it would be interesting to be in space because we're used to, like, this is the ground and this is the sky, but when
and
you're...
up there, you don't, the orientation, there is no orientation.
Right, exactly. So how do you reorient your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your body, because our bodies move down here based on how our mind knows that our bodies are oriented. So then how do you reorient your mind in space to think about, this movement here could send me just into a spin if I just move my head forward too far, and there I go,
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting
Because
to
I
think
think
of, too.
people think it's a lot easier than it actually is.
Yeah, I would
being
think so
out
too.
in zero gravity, and it's very difficult because people train in 0G.
And even then, you're training in an environment that's not a true environment.
Right.
Like you're getting a partial glimpse of what it's like, but not a true
Because I think when you
glimpse.
do it, when they do it on a plane, they go down, but I think it's only like 15 seconds that they have a weightlessness.
Right, it's just for a few seconds, and now you're going hours and days for the people that are living in the International Space Station. So
Yeah, I think the closest you're ever going to get to the disorientation of space is scuba diving in a cave.
Oh, really?
With no lights.
Oh, yeah.
Because that way you don't know which way is up.
You don't know which way is up.
That's probably about the closest us down here
on Earth
is going to get. But
or if you get sucked into an undertow,
but
then you don't know which way is up or down.
that would be cool. The whole, well, what am I orientating on? Am I orientating on that crap back there, or am I just looking at the stuff here?
Yeah. Well, and then I don't think people realize how dangerous it is. You think, oh, well, they're just walking around the space station. I think what people don't realize is how much space debris is up there. So people may not realize that not only have we sent all these satellites up there, but some countries have been trying to think of ways to get rid of the satellites that are up there. And so some of them have shot missiles actually up there to hit their own satellites. Well, when they hit the satellites, they break it into a bunch of pieces and then hope that the pieces will come down into Earth's atmosphere, which some of them do. But even if you leave something the size of like a nut or a bolt or something up there in space, it's going around and it can get fast enough that it's going faster than a bullet. So you get something like that hits you in your suit, that hits right next to you in the space station or something.
So those suits need to be built to withstand that kind of stuff, and that's another...
That they're not.
But they're not currently. Like, that's not where we're at right now,
Yeah, you think of a fleck of paint traveling at 100,000 miles an hour. I mean, if that hits you, that's going to hurt.
Yeah, it's going to hurt. And then imagine if it's something larger. Because it has gotten to where the debris, there's so much debris that some of it is starting to hit into, like, they're hitting into each other, causing even more debris. Because there have been a couple of satellite collisions recently where there was like a dead satellite that was just like moving around in orbit, and some of the live satellites are on a path like you would think of like a flight plan like for planes and stuff. So imagine a plane could float in the air, but the other plane doesn't know because they're not on the flight plan or whatever, and then it floats right into you, So that's kind of where we're getting in space, too.
I don't know what level that the space station is at, because you would think
it's still
it has to be...
No, it's still in what they call low orbit.
Oh yeah.
It's in the same orbit as the satellites. Yeah.
It has to be tethered to, so it doesn't float off out in the space.
Right. It has to have enough gravitational pull that it stays here near us. So, yeah, it's still in what we consider low orbit. So it's in the same orbit. Now, it has more maneuverability, obviously, than satellites, and it has humans there who are constantly monitoring, to see. And it can move out of the way. It just can't move too far out of the way. So it has been damaged before in the past from space debris. So it's interesting to think about because we talk so much, and especially because my students do these year-long projects, so we research a lot of these things, and we talk so much about pollution in the oceans and landfill pollution and food waste and things like that, that we don't really think about pollution that we're starting to...
Space pollution.
that we're starting to put above our planet. Like, people worry about global warming and the ozone and everything, but even beyond that, we've started to pollute. So, and then what's gonna...
And how do you remedy that? Do you put like rockets on the satellites to push them out further into space?
But then,
to get them out of our gravity?
That cause, right?
It gets it away from the Earth, though.
Well, so I've seen some interesting ideas about how to get rid of that. And the thing is, which I think is interesting about space exploration in general, is it's this leap from science fiction, like writing and thoughts and books and movies and things, right? This leap from these made-up ideas to someone thinking, well, maybe that would be a good idea. Maybe we could do that. And then we leap to try to make the technology...
Well, because a lot of stuff that happened in like Star Trek are now scientific theories.
That's what I mean. So it's really interesting that we've taken that. So one of the really weird, like, ideas that I saw, it's so weird. I can't even believe I'm saying this out loud. One of the really weird ideas I saw was that Japan, they want to send a ship up into low orbit that has a whip that's the size of 2 football fields, and it's like gonna whip out and like knock the trash, and like it whips it into the atmosphere so that if it's like small enough pieces, it just burns up before it becomes like a missile to hit the ground. So, and then it would whip the bigger pieces like the other.
Yeah.
So I don't know about this space whip. I can't like imagine.
Space fan, yes.
They should do like a space racket.
Pow, pow.
Oh, hey, Jaybird Videos. He says, hey, Vince. Hey, Colleen.
Hey, Jay.
How's it going?
How's
and
it going?
Also, Texas Style Barbecue and Cuisine is
whoop.
also watching. Thanks, Chef Johnny, for checking us out.
Thank you, Chef Johnny.
All right, now since we're talking about women in space, I've done my research. I Googled stuff.
Yeah, that's good. That's what we do.
And we're talking about the big thing of the first all-women spacewalk.
Right.
What year do you think the first woman was in space? Vincent? Guess?
Shoot. Did they have one before?
Just guess a number.
90.
90? All right. Miss Colleen, first woman in space?
I'll say 1982.
Wrong. First woman in space, June 16th, 1963.
63?
Really?
But,
Yeah.
The first launch was only in 57.
no, in America, for Americans.
All right. First American in space. That was a Russian.
Oh, that was a
Russian.
Russian.
It was probably Russian, yeah.
First American woman in space in June 1983.
You're
Okay.
close.
That's
You're close.
what I thought. Was it Sally Ride or?
Yes, it was. Look at you, Colleen, for the win.
And in
I
fact,
wanted to go to space. Until my teacher
you
beat
met
me.
an astronaut, a female astronaut at what was the name of the Worldcon? Yeah, when it was here in San Antonio.
I'm very interested in space. It was something that I wanted to do when I was little. When I was in the 5th grade, I very much wanted to be an astronaut. But my 5th grade teacher said that women couldn't do math and couldn't be astronauts, and so it was a thing. So I gave up on that dream.
Well, let's do another one. First woman walking in space, what year?
Ooh, walking in space. That one I don't know.
1990. I'm going to go for 90 again. Oh, Chef Johnny says, how about a space vacuum like in Spaceballs?
Yes.
Maybe, yeah.
We'll go with that. They're talking
build
about
one
a
of
giant
those.
space magnet. I'm going to say 2004.
No. First woman to walk in space was again a Russian, 1982. First US woman to walk in space, 1984.
Really?
Yeah.
I was closer.
You were closer.
Look at that.
But I'm thinking about a vacuum in space. You can't have a vacuum in a vacuum. How do you do that? How could you make that happen?
But a vacuum is like a suction device, really. So you're more thinking of like a suction device, not a vacuum per se. Like when you think of a vacuum space being a vacuum, you would send a suction device into
Like a
space
suction cup?
that would it would like pull in.
Yeah, but how do you do that if there's already a vacuum out there? There's like, what force are you doing it to create that suck?
Well, but they still have.
Because there's no air.
No, there's no air. But they still are moving. They still have mechanical energy, right? All the particles.
But you can push out. Yes, you can push out. But how do you bring in without something mechanical?
You're not technically sucking. You're moving the vacuum cleaner over the thing that you think you're sucking. You're pushing the vacuum cleaner onto the...
Yeah, you would need to mechanically grab onto it.
Mhm.
Because I don't think you can... A vacuum wouldn't work.
Because you can't pull in air
Because you can't pull in the air because there's no air around something, so it wouldn't suck anything in. Did I break your brain?
Yeah, now I'm trying to think of a way to go get around it.
But I think that's why they have like the different arms and stuff out on the space stations and the shuttles, because they have to use mechanical arms to be able to move things like that.
Because what if you vacuum in a vacuum?
I don't think that you can vacuum in a vacuum. I don't think that's possible.
You've broken my brain. Like my brain is really trying to think of how to do this.
And you wouldn't be able to hear it either, so...
Yeah, no, you wouldn't be able to hear it either.
Is it on or not? You just look at the little green light. Is the little green light on? Well, we're obviously vacuuming. We're not sucking it, but it's working. Be a long extension cord, though.
Yeah, but waves.
But they could turn it. They could turn it to
space.
blow. So yes.
No, they couldn't, because there'd be nothing unless you had. You'd have to put something in
Some
it.
kind of like an engine in there to blow out. Like
Well, you'd have to put air in it, right?
Yeah.
You'd have to like have
Either
compressed
air-
air or something
yeah.
in it.
You need some kind of gas to be able to propel it.
Is it on blow? Is it a red light or a green light? Because we can't hear it.
Mm-hmm. These are the things that keep me up at
Astronaut
night.
theories.
Astronaut Colleen has spilt the tang everywhere. How do we vacuum it up?
But when they spill,
If we have any space scientists, if you could like let us know about
but
this.
when they spill liquid in space, because I've seen this, because I've watched videos from the International Space Center. So when they spill liquid in space, it still has surface tension. So small balls of it roll together and come together as small balls, and then they can go over with their mouth and drink it up. So there is some type of, now there's circulated air in the space station, so there's probably still some air for them to work against. Ooh, I'm gonna have to.
We broke Colleen. That's
You
good.
broke me. Gosh. Okay, sorry. I like can't get past it. You're gonna have to move
That's
on.
gonna be. I mean, it's a difficult thing. I wouldn't know. Just Aaron says, just saying hi. This was an amazing event that happened. It was an amazing event that happened, but I think you were saying it. Should it be considered?
I mean, is it really amazing just because it's two chicks? I mean,
No. Well,
Is it really? They're trained. They're just as trained as a man. They're just as qualified as a man. They're probably more so because they're smaller, right? So it's probably easier for them to maneuver in some of the spaces around the space station.
Reaction time is quicker.
Reaction time is quicker. So is it really that impressive? When do we stop separating all of us into these categories and saying, oh, this is impressive because it's 2 women, or this is impressive because
they've never had that shot before. Is the
but
thing,
they have
though.
been in space. They have been
But
in space. They've walked in
not
space.
a whole team of them.
A whole team of
out
2
there.
of them, really?
Well, yeah.
I mean, come on. I just feel like
I mean, I don't think they do more than 2 for spacewalks.
no, but I just feel like I just think we're making a mountain out of a molehill.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not saying that I don't think that it's great that these women got to walk in space. I do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that we over sensationalize it, right? Because we're in this era, this time in human interaction where it is so important for it to be women. Why can't it just be, wow, these 2 cool astronauts like walked around in space and fixed the space station? I think that they're using it because people.
But they've been doing that for years. They did it when they did what's her name, Rosie the Riveter or whatever.
Yeah.
They pushed that, and then women have power. So they've been doing it since like the 50s.
I realize that, but when do women stop becoming a marketing commodity? Because let's be honest, they marketed this because people have lost some interest in space and space travel.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's becoming more commercialized with Elon Musk and SpaceX, and now the Virgin Mobile guy is going to do like his own SpaceX type thing as well. So I guess it perturbs me as a woman, maybe, that it's like, oh, chicks in space.
Well, this is what we have from McKenna. This is amazing because they haven't been allowed to do it without chauvinistic babysitting by fragile male egos.
But again, not really. There's women in space all the time. I think we need to stop separating it like that. And I think if we would stop projecting it that way, it would just level out.
But even the control person was a female that was telling them what to do because they were having some issues with something on their visors, and she was like walking them through about what to do. And that was a female too that I guess was in the space station as well.
Oh my God, there's competent females.
So it was a whole
everywhere?
team that was.
I know you're trying
It
to
was
make
a
me
whole
shut up.
team
I know you're trying to make
that
me
was
shut
doing
up.
that this historically has never happened
I
before.
know.
And I think that's where a lot of people are saying, yay, hey, girl power, because this is something that's never happened before. This is the first time.
So awesome.
Yeah, I think they're pushing it because marketing. Because a lot of that space stuff, it's boring. If you watch it, it's like, what are they doing? It's not like watching Sandra Bullock in Gravity being.
Oh yeah,
Right, it's
no,
not the
that's
same
different.
thing.
It's like, oh, we're moving some stuff.
And people have gotten so over sensationalized, and they want to see 15-second clips of things, and they want to see something like Sandra Bullock movies and Gravity, so that when real exciting science happens, it's very slow. People don't care.
Maybe
That's
somebody,
my thought.
Maybe somebody was watching it to hope that something would hit one of them or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but they're not going to watch it for 7 hours. They're going to watch it for 7 seconds and hope something happens in that 7 seconds. But and I'm all for science being put out there and being more accessible to people and people being more excited about it so that we do have more people going into science. But I maybe it's because I'm a girl. Maybe it's because I'm an intelligent girl. It irks me. It makes, it's like fingernails on a chalkboard for me. It irks me because I just feel like we would be treated equally as women if people just stopped saying things like, oh, well, that's the first female director to direct a superhero movie about females. And then all the males can come and go, well, I hated that because that's a bunch of chicks. That Batwoman stinks. Look at all those chicks. Are they going to do like Supergirl and have a bunch of chicks talking to chicks? That's ridiculous. You know, I mean, it's just like I'm so over
Yeah, but
it.
Batwoman's like.
But Batwoman's horrible because she can't act.
Well, yeah.
Not because it has to do with a female character. Let's just be honest. But men aren't saying...
Ruby Rose is a horrible actress.
Right, but men aren't saying Batwoman is terrible because the acting is terrible. They're saying, oh, this is terrible because who wants to see a female character? Chicks are stupid.
No, I literally says because she's horrible acting.
In particular. I'm just saying when I see the Neanderthals like on the internet and stuff and on other people's Facebook feeds and on Instagram and on Twitter, they're like, Batwoman bad. She a girl character. Like it, you know, she's just bad because she can't act. She stinks. Like, let's just stop separating it between male and female, and either it's a good character and the acting's really good and I enjoy it, or it's a bad character and the acting's really terrible and I don't enjoy it.
I really think they just picked her for her figure.
She's very nice looking. She is. She's very nice looking, but she can't act. She was a bad choice. She was a bad choice. And I think that show's going to tank because she was a bad choice.
Yeah, I don't think she's been good in anything she's been in.
No, she's not.
Not a single
But
time.
I guess that's what irks me. So I didn't mean to get off of the whole space thing, but that's what irks me is, not that I'm irked that it's all women. I'm really glad that it's all women, but I think at some point we have to stop saying things like that. You know, it's just a really cool spacewalk and we're doing really cool things in space.
But there's nothing wrong with them being women.
Oh my God, that's not what I'm saying. Never mind. And I love Vincent. He's awesome. And I'm not going to argue with him anymore.
Chef Johnny says, I like seeing female actresses. And especially when they're hot.
Right.
Chef Johnny, meet McKenna. McKenna, Chef Johnny. Could have a whole show on that.
You know, space is actually really interesting with or without males or females.
Space is the final frontier.
It is the final frontier. According to Stephen Hawking, if we don't get off of this planet real soon and get into space and find another planet, we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, but we'll be long dead before that.
Yeah, I don't really care. I tell my students all the time, I'm going to be gone. Mm-hmm. Y'all need to deal with it. Not my problem anymore. I mean, just, you know, use the metal straw and save the turtles. And I oop.
So, what are some of the things that I haven't heard much about the EM drive? I know we talked about that a long time ago. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen anything more about the EM drive. What do you think the new technologies are going to start coming out for space? Have you researched any of that stuff?
So it's something that some of my students and I are going to research this year because some of us are really interested in it, and I have some of my 8th graders that have matured. They've matured to a point where they can really research something like this, because when they're little, they research space and it's really cool, you know, and they find some exoplanets or whatever, and they're like, right? But now that they're 8th graders, we're really going to be looking into, like, how do we get there? And especially with a lot of talk about colonization of Mars. And they're fairly certain that finding life on Mars is going to happen very quickly. But what people don't understand is the life that they find on Mars is going to be microscopic. It's going to be, it's going to be single-celled probably. So, Stuart, you're convinced it's not single-celled?
I think it's a little bit more complex than single-cell.
You think it's a little more complex, but not by much?
No, probably not. But...
Probably not by much, yeah. So, to find a way, because that's where we're trying to head, right? Mars is fairly close. So, to find a way to colonize... again, here's science fiction kind of moving into reality. People have seen The Martian, and he's able to cultivate the potatoes within the right circumstances. So that's kind of where people are hoping to go.
But I know we're going and we're saying, hey, let's go to Mars. Why aren't we doing this on the moon?
We're doing it. That's the next thing they do.
We are.
Because that's
it's going to have to be a jump point. We have to.
That needs to be the place that we go first and be able to set this up to see if it works. And it'll be very easy because the moon was part of the Earth. So it's the same.
Right, it's the same makeup.
It's the same makeup.
We have problems with that because then we have everybody fighting over who actually the moon belongs to.
Who the moon belongs to.
And who has mining rights, and yeah.
Whoever got there first.
But then it becomes another manifest destiny. Yeah. It's, I got there first, I colonized it. There are certain colonization rules about, you know, being up there and staking a claim, which is why the flag being up there is important and things of that nature. So, but I really thought the most viable option for some of the space travel is within our solar system anyway, were the sails. I thought the solar sails. I thought the solar sails were some of the best ideas because we already understand that technology of converting that solar energy into mechanical energy and something else.
But how does that work with debris? Because they're very...
Right, because they're super fragile. So
Yeah.
then again, we're talking about the space debris.
So what it seemed like is this EM drive is going to be what is the game changer.
Either that or
They've proven
we're
that
driving,
it works.
We're driving Teslas. We just sit in the Tesla and we get shot out, and that's
Hold your breath.
Yeah. Because that proved a lot of things.
Shooting a Tesla into space.
Yeah.
What it was trying to prove was that we could privatize this space race.
Well, it was an advertisement for Tesla cars. That's what
Advertisement
it was.
for Elon Musk and all of his lines of things. But so I haven't researched the EM drive in a really long time, so I don't even remember the dynamics of how
But that's the
gonna
thing.
function.
They haven't really been talking about it lately, which is making me wonder what's going on with that. Are they trying to push it aside again?
Well, see, and it's so hard because it depends on funding. I think a lot of people don't realize is the leaps that we make in science has to do with funding. Somebody has to fund it. And so currently, and in the past few years, actually, the government has taken funding away from NASA. So NASA doesn't have the funding. So then you have to reach out to corporations and other places to get grants to try to get funding. And if you're not funded, you can't do the science. You can't buy the materials. You can't do the experiments. You can't move them to a large scale. Without funding, it's nothing. I mean, I've worked...
And especially when you're doing that kind of stuff, because you have to have scientists there. And you have to have
mathematicians, and you have to have engineers.
And buy equipment that... Make equipment because it doesn't exist.
Right, exactly. And it's a lot of trial and error. So you're burning up equipment and messing it up, and you've got to start over. So again, that's expense on top of expense on top of expense, which there's no money for. Like, even, I think people don't understand science in general, because even having worked, because I worked in the scientific field, I worked in research laboratories, even just getting grant money, like, you're fighting all these scientists across the country, and a lot of places only want to give you grant money if you're going to get the results that they want, right? So they don't want you necessarily to get grant money to do the full science or the actual science, or to find out necessarily the truth behind something, or to find out how something could really work. They want you to do what's in their interest. Well, because a lot of them were
like doing like plant growth in space. So I'm sure that was supported by a bunch of, I don't know who.
Probably something within the farming industry or the Food and Drug Administration or something, to try to get that out there.
And they can market, hey, this seed grows in space. We can sell it to you for the Mars trip.
Right. Or even
the moon trip.
grow it in the space station, bring it down and then use it to grow things here, and then it's like space grown food or whatever, know. There are all kinds of ways to spin things that I keep
the space ice cream. It's nasty stuff.
I have never tried it. It seems like frightening.
It's not good.
Have you tried it?
Yeah.
Really? You
used
tried
to
it
sell
too?
It, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, I knew they sold it, but I never tried it. I was like, because you can feel it through the package, and it's hard.
Yeah. Because forms ice cream in your mouth. Your saliva makes it ice cream.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, I don't like that. Let's buy those and try those on air. That'd be fun. We do need to do a more like weird food challenge things.
Yeah.
Let's try some weird food.
Yeah.
And then Chef Johnny could give us some good food.
Yeah.
And we could eat that after we eat the weird food.
That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm. Just a thought, Chef Johnny. We
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint.
Food. I like food.
Space food.
So I do this really fun challenge every year with my 6th grade students because we talk about space at the end of the year, and I have the gifted and talented students, and so I give them a certain amount of materials based on how many they purchase. So they get a budget, and then I tell them how much the materials cost, and I give them things like straws and cling wrap and like aluminum foil and stuff like that. And we watch a video of them eating M&Ms on the International Space Station, because you open the M&Ms and they all start to fly out, right? They just, the gravity, and they just float out, right? And so then they're going around like, like trying to eat them. And so I'm like, okay, make a container for space where the astronauts can get their M&Ms out of the container without them floating away and them having to chase them, and then the M&Ms, you know, go into the machinery or whatever. I don't know if you've seen that Simpsons episode where they're in space and the ants and the
Yes.
yeah. So that's a fun thing to do with kids, just in general. It doesn't have to be gifted kids, but just any kids. Like, give them those kind of materials, show them those videos, and maybe at home you can play astronaut, right? And so come up with a way to build something that you can, you know, get your M&Ms. And so the kids have tried, like, and they'll try it, right? Because we haven't told them that they can't do it, so they'll try it. So they've tried to like get the straws, and they're trying to like squeeze the M&M up through the straw, and it's not like a boba straw, it's like a straw. It doesn't fit, and they're trying to like make a little hole in it, but then they realize the hole rips, and then the M&Ms are gonna fall out, and they try to make a funnel. And it's funny to see, and I think that's the thing, is these brilliant scientists, these people that move NASA forward, that move SpaceX forward and things like that, it's because they don't stop at what they believe we can do. They move on to what people don't think it's possible that we can do. So I think that we need more of that. We talk about STEM and STEM and STEM and STEM, but we need more of just, don't limit yourself to what you think is possible. Move beyond that. Move into the science fiction, right?
Because if you didn't, we wouldn't be where we are right now.
Right. Make a big whip in space.
But do you think that has started to lessen?
Agree. Definitely. Definitely agree that has started to lessen. Yeah.
And I think what was trying to be done was have all these STEM programs, but what has that actually done?
Yeah, see, unfortunately, I think the STEM programs just teach children to look at the science and the engineering and the mathematics that's already here. Whereas if we would just let them go and be free, they would come up with all kinds of weird, crazy things that might make us think of something else, until we get to something bigger and better, you know. So maybe they think of an M&M container that then eventually becomes a container that they can scoop up debris with or something, right? So then it becomes something that fixes a problem. So I don't know, I should probably get off my soapbox. I'm sorry. I'm very passionate about education and about what we should do for children, and what we do and how that's going to affect our future.
Right.
So, but don't let me get started, because I'll just go, and people will be like, oh, okay.
So I think there's some STEM programs that kind of like foster that.
They're trying to.
They're trying to, and they've just started that. And but I think the answers are out there to be found.
Well, we're gonna have to find them.
They're out there to be found, and we're almost there to discover them. We just need to push for more discoveries.
So, since we're talking about this, I have a theory
Okay.
And I want to know what your theory is.
All right.
What your thought is on my theory. Okay. So,
go.
we've been going to space, right?
Uh-huh.
Since the 50s.
Right.
Right? So we're like 70 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Almost a century. And we still haven't gotten super far.
Right.
Right? We don't exactly like go to the moon every couple of months or anything. We've had some serious failures, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And yet we think we're going to go to Mars. Right? So, I personally believe in extraterrestrial life. I believe
Right.
that it is naive and narcissistic to believe that we're the only ones out in the whole vastness of the universe
Mm-hmm.
that are intelligent, right? You watch all of these ancient alien theories, right?
Right.
Where we're all descended from aliens, or they brought genetics, or they're our overlords, or whatever the case may be, right?
Right.
I am a human being, but I don't necessarily love human beings as a species, okay? We're kind of like the locusts of the planet, yes? Can you agree to that?
Yeah.
Okay, we're putting debris in space, we're putting debris in the oceans, we're using up the resources, we're messing with the ozone, right? We're not great, yes? So is it possible that our alien overlords keep doing something to us? They're putting the juice in the water or something, so that we can't think too far beyond, so that we can't use that imagination, so that we don't leave the planet because we're really scary. And they don't want us out there in the world being really scary.
In the universe, yeah.
Yeah, in the universe.
The aliens are responsible for the Kardashians. Thank you very much.
Done.
That proves it
It
right there.
answers it right there.
Thanks.
I really
But
believe...
there's some of us that aren't like that. There's some of us that think beyond.
Yeah, but a lot of us, even those of us that think beyond, and it's still narcissistic.
But here's the
and
thing.
It's still like, I belong there, I own it, it belongs to me.
We've gone through, with as long as humans have been on Earth, or just mammals themselves, we've gone through several evolutions and understood things that may not have just come from us. That new
Right, but-
genetics were introduced into our...
But when we've gotten to a certain point, and this has happened several times in human history, we get to a certain point of enlightenment, whatever, and then it seems like we get the kibosh.
Yeah, but then right after that is where we go into a new renaissance.
I think the alien overlords are trying to keep us out of space. I do.
They've decided we're jerks.
Yes.
We don't need to be out
I
there.
mean, look at all of us. We're not great. Let's let them loose in the universe. Who let the humans off their planet?
Manifest destiny.
Yeah, manifest destiny is a huge human problem. It's a huge human problem. I mean, let's look at San Antonio, just where we live in the hill country, and we used to be like the 8th most biodiverse area on the planet. And now we're all shopping malls and shopping centers, and we've killed, and I know nobody cares about grasses and plants and stuff, but if you care about global warming, you have to care about native plants because they fix carbon better and they can help with global warming, but we're destroying them all with our shopping centers that we don't need because we all use Amazon anyway. I'm sorry, where's my soapbox? I have to get off of this thing today. I keep climbing on it and I keep climbing on it. I just need to get down. I love space. Space is awesome. Don't let the humans out there. The end.
But then if you go through and then just let those buildings die, nature will take over it anyway.
I love that show. That's one of my favorite shows.
Beyond Humans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that
that's
show.
a good show.
I do. Okay, I'm sorry. I think we're done. I think Stuart's been giving us the thing that we need to wrap it up. I get overly excited when we talk about science.
So cool. Thank you for checking us out. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit that notification button so you can know when we're on live or we send out a new video. So thanks for checking us out. I'm Vince.
I'm Colleen, and thanks to Stuart.
Geek out, SA.